A Life of Serenity. Create a life of balance, purpose, and peace. Written and published by Rising Audiobook. Introduction. What if the life you've been chasing is the very reason you've lost your peace? Every day we race against the clock, believing that one more achievement, one more promotion, one more possession, or one more perfect moment will finally make us feel complete. Yet despite all our effort, many of us lie awake at night with restless minds, tired hearts, and a quiet feeling that something important is missing. The truth is that serenity has never been waiting at the finish line. It has always been waiting within you. This audiobook is not about escaping responsibilities or pretending life will never be difficult. It's about learning how to remain calm when life becomes chaotic, how to find balance in a world that celebrates busyness, and how to build a life guided by purpose instead of pressure. Throughout this journey, you'll discover practical wisdom, timeless principles, and gentle habits that can transform the way you think, feel, and live. By the end, you won't simply understand serenity, you'll have the tools to create it every single day, no matter what life brings. Chapter 1. The moment you realize something must change. There comes a moment in almost every person's life when the noise becomes too loud to ignore. It doesn't always arrive with a dramatic event. Sometimes it appears quietly, in the silence after a long day, in the exhaustion that follows another sleepless night, or in the realization that despite accomplishing so much, you still don't feel at peace. Perhaps you've experienced this yourself. You wake up already thinking about deadlines. Your mind jumps from one responsibility to another before your feet even touch the floor. You rush through breakfast, answer messages without thinking, and spend your day solving problems, meeting expectations, and chasing goals. By evening, you're physically tired, mentally drained, and emotionally empty. Then the cycle begins again. From the outside, your life may appear successful. People may admire your work ethic, your achievements, or your ability to keep going, but deep inside you may wonder, is this really what life is supposed to feel like? That question is not a sign of weakness. It is the beginning of wisdom. Many people spend years believing that exhaustion is simply the price of success. They wear stress like a badge of honor and mistake constant busyness for meaningful living. Society often praises those who are always available, always productive, and always pushing harder. We celebrate packed schedules and endless ambition while quietly ignoring the emotional cost. But there is a difference between being busy and being fulfilled. Busyness fills your calendar. Fulfillment fills your heart. The problem is that modern life rarely teaches us this distinction. From an early age, we're encouraged to compete, achieve, and constantly move toward the next milestone. Finish school, build a career, earn more money, buy a bigger home, gain more recognition. While these goals aren't wrong, they become dangerous when we believe they are the only path to happiness. The finish line keeps moving. Every achievement creates another expectation. Every success leads to another challenge. If your peace depends on reaching the next destination, you'll spend your entire life chasing something that never truly arrives. Serenity begins the moment you recognize this pattern. It begins when you pause long enough to ask yourself questions that many people avoid. Am I living according to my values, or merely reacting to life's demands? When was the last time I felt completely present? Have I been taking care of my mind as faithfully as I take care of my responsibilities? These questions are uncomfortable because honest answers often reveal how disconnected we've become from ourselves. Sometimes change begins because of burnout. Sometimes it begins after disappointment, loss, or failure. Sometimes it begins because one quiet afternoon you realize you've been surviving instead of living. Whatever brings you here, honor that moment. Awareness is never the enemy. It is the doorway to transformation. Imagine driving a car with a warning light glowing on the dashboard. Ignoring the light doesn't solve the problem. It only delays the repair until something breaks down completely. Our minds and bodies work the same way. Stress, anxiety, irritability, constant fatigue and emotional numbness are often warning lights. They aren't inconveniences to silence, they're messages asking us to pay attention. Instead of asking, how can I keep pushing harder? Perhaps the better question is, why do I feel the need to keep pushing at all? This shift changes everything. Serenity doesn't ask you to abandon ambition. It asks you to redefine success. Real success is waking up with energy instead of dread. It is finishing your day without sacrificing your mental health. It is having meaningful relationships instead of only impressive accomplishments. It is finding joy in ordinary moments rather than postponing happiness until everything is perfect. This doesn't happen overnight. It begins with one decision. The decision to slow down, not because you're giving up, but because you're choosing to move with intention rather than impulse. Slowing down allows you to notice things you've overlooked for years. The beauty of a quiet morning, the comfort of a deep breath, the warmth of genuine conversation, the satisfaction of doing one meaningful task instead of 10 distracted ones. Life has always been happening in these moments. We were simply moving too fast to see them. Many people fear slowing down because they're afraid of what they'll discover in the silence. Without constant distraction, unresolved emotions often rise to the surface. Regret, fear, loneliness, disappointment and uncertainty suddenly become impossible to ignore. Yet healing always begins where honesty begins. The silence you avoid may contain the answers you've been searching for. It reminds you that your worth is not measured by your productivity, that your value doesn't depend on how many people approve of you, that your identity is far greater than your job title, your income or your achievements. You are a human being before you are a human doing. That simple truth has the power to change the direction of your life. As you begin this journey, don't worry about transforming everything at once. Lasting peace is never built through dramatic overnight change. It grows through small, consistent decisions made every single day. One mindful breath, one honest conversation, one unnecessary worry released, one moment of gratitude, one courageous choice to protect your well-being. These small actions become the foundation of a peaceful life. Today is your invitation to stop living on autopilot. You don't need to wait until burnout forces you to rest, or until life becomes perfect before choosing peace. The moment you recognize that something must change is the moment your new life quietly begins, and perhaps without realizing it, that moment is happening right now. Chapter 2. Letting go of the weight you were never meant to carry. Have you ever noticed how two people can walk the same road, face the same challenge, and yet one seems light while the other appears burdened? The difference is often not the circumstances they carry, but the emotional weight they refuse to put down. Many of us spend years carrying invisible baggage. It doesn't show up in our hands, but it weighs heavily on our hearts. Regret over past mistakes, resentment towards someone who hurt us, guilt for decisions we wish we could undo, unrealistic expectations about who we should be or how life should have unfolded. These unseen burdens quietly drain our energy, cloud our judgment, and steal our peace. The tragedy is that we become so accustomed to carrying them that we begin to believe they are part of who we are. But they are not. Imagine walking through life with a backpack filled with heavy stones. At first, you might barely notice the extra weight. As time passes, however, every step becomes harder. You grow tired more quickly. Your shoulders ache. Your posture changes. Eventually, you forget what it feels like to walk freely. Emotional burdens work in exactly the same way. Every unresolved hurt becomes another stone. Every grudge, another stone. Every disappointment you refuse to release, another stone. Over time, the weight becomes so familiar that you mistake it for your normal state of being. One of the heaviest burdens people carry is regret. We replay conversations we wish had gone differently. We think about opportunities we didn't take, relationships we lost, or mistakes we made years ago. Our minds become experts at rewriting history, imagining endless versions of a past that can never be changed. Yet, no amount of regret has ever rewritten yesterday. Regret has value only when it teaches a lesson. Once the lesson is learned, continuing to punish yourself serves no purpose. Growth requires reflection, but peace requires release. Another heavy burden is resentment. Perhaps someone betrayed your trust. Maybe they spoke words that left invisible scars. Maybe they treated you unfairly despite your kindness. Holding on to that pain can feel justified. After all, why should you let them off the hook? But here's the truth many people overlook. Resentment rarely hurts the person who caused it. It hurts the person who carries it. Imagine gripping a burning piece of coal, believing that someday you'll throw it at someone who hurt you. Long before that day arrives, your own hand has already been burned. This is why forgiveness is so powerful. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It does not mean pretending that painful events never happened. It does not excuse betrayal, abuse, or injustice. It does not require forgetting the lesson or inviting harmful people back into your life. Forgiveness simply means refusing to let the past continue controlling your present. It is choosing freedom over bitterness. Consider the story of two lifelong friends whose relationship ended after a painful misunderstanding. One spent years replaying every conversation, hoping the other would apologize. The anger slowly became part of everyday life, affecting work, family, and even health. Eventually, they realized something important. The apology they had been waiting for might never come. So they chose forgiveness, not because the other person deserved it, but because they deserved peace. The past didn't change, but their heart finally did. That decision lifted a burden they had unknowingly carried for years. Acceptance is another key that unlocks serenity. Many people resist reality because they confuse acceptance with surrender. But acceptance does not mean giving up. It means seeing life clearly before deciding how to move forward. If you deny the rain, you'll never think to carry an umbrella. Likewise, denying difficult truths only delays healing. Acceptance allows you to stop fighting reality and begin working with it. Some things cannot be changed. The past cannot be rewritten. Time cannot be recovered. Other people's choices cannot be controlled. Once you truly accept these realities, an incredible amount of emotional energy is released. Instead of wasting your strength fighting what already exists, you can invest that strength in creating a better future. Another burden many people carry is the weight of impossible expectations. We compare our lives to carefully edited images of success. We expect ourselves to excel at work, maintain perfect relationships, stay constantly productive, and never make mistakes. When reality doesn't match these impossible standards, we criticize ourselves relentlessly. But perfection has never been the goal. Growth is. A peaceful life isn't built by becoming flawless. It's built by becoming compassionate toward yourself while continuing to improve. Speak to yourself the way you would encourage a dear friend. If someone you loved made a mistake, you would likely offer understanding, guidance, and hope. Yet when you make the same mistake, your inner voice often becomes harsh and unforgiving. Serenity begins when that voice becomes kinder. Letting go is rarely a single decision. It is a practice. Some days you'll release the same fear again and again. Some memories may return unexpectedly. Old emotions may revisit you when you least expect them. That doesn't mean you've failed. Healing is rarely a straight path. Each time you choose forgiveness over resentment, acceptance over resistance, or compassion over self-criticism, you strengthen your ability to live with greater peace. Think of a tree in autumn. It does not cling desperately to every leaf. It lets go because it trusts another season is coming. What appears to be loss is actually preparation for new growth. We too must learn this wisdom. Sometimes the things we hold most tightly are the very things preventing us from growing. As you continue your journey towards serenity, ask yourself a simple but powerful question. What am I carrying that no longer serves me? Perhaps it is an old disappointment. Perhaps it is anger. Perhaps it is guilt. Perhaps it is the impossible expectation that life should have been different. Whatever it is, remember this. You were never meant to carry every burden forever. Some weights are meant to teach you, others are meant to leave you. The moment you loosen your grip on what no longer belongs in your life, your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes quieter, and your path forward becomes clearer. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is not holding on. It is finally letting go. Chapter 3. Quieting the Storm Within. Have you ever noticed that some of life's loudest storms never happen outside of you? The sky can be clear, the room can be silent, and yet your mind can feel like it's caught in a hurricane. Thoughts race from one worry to another. Memories replay without invitation. Future problems that haven't even happened begin to feel painfully real. Before long, your heart beats faster, your breathing becomes shallow, and your peace quietly slips away. This is the storm within. Unlike a storm in nature, this one often has no visible signs. The people around you may believe you're doing just fine, while inside you're battling fear, doubt, and endless overthinking. You smile during conversations, finish your responsibilities, and continue with your day, all while carrying an invisible struggle that no one else can see. The truth is that the greatest battles we fight are often fought in silence. Overthinking is one of the most common thieves of serenity. It convinces us that if we think long enough, we can solve every possible problem before it happens. But instead of creating certainty, it usually creates exhaustion. Imagine lying awake the night before an important meeting. Your mind begins asking questions. What if I say something wrong? What if they don't like my ideas? What if I fail? One thought becomes 10. 10 become 50. Hours pass, and sleep never comes. Then the meeting finally arrives. It lasts only 30 minutes and goes far better than you expected. Suddenly you realize something remarkable. The event itself wasn't what exhausted you. Your imagination was. How often do we suffer twice, once in our minds and once in reality? More often than we'd like to admit. Our brains are designed to protect us. Thousands of years ago, constantly scanning for danger helped humans survive. Today, however, our minds often react to emails, deadlines, social situations, and uncertain futures as though they were life-threatening emergencies. The result is constant mental tension. Your mind begins treating every inconvenience like a catastrophe. A delayed reply becomes rejection. One mistake becomes complete failure. One criticism outweighs 10 compliments. One uncertain future becomes 1,000 imagined disasters. The storm grows stronger because we believe every thought deserves our attention. But here's an important truth. Not every thought deserves your trust. Just because your mind says something doesn't make it true. Thoughts are like clouds passing across the sky. Some are bright and encouraging, others are dark and frightening, yet no matter how powerful they appear, they eventually pass if we stop chasing them. The problem is that most of us chase every single cloud. We argue with our thoughts, we analyze them, we fear them, we replay them. In doing so, we unknowingly give them more power. Serenity begins when we learn to observe our thoughts instead of becoming trapped inside them. Imagine sitting beside a quiet river. Leaves float gently downstream. Each leaf represents a thought. One says, "You're not good enough." Another whispers, "Something terrible might happen." Another reminds you of a mistake from years ago. Instead of jumping into the river and chasing every leaf, simply watch them drift by. Notice them, acknowledge them, then let them continue downstream. This simple shift changes your relationship with your mind. You begin to understand that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. This realization is incredibly freeing. Another hidden source of inner storms is fear. Fear itself isn't the enemy. In many situations, fear protects us from genuine danger. But imagined fear can quietly control an entire life. Fear tells you not to apply for the opportunity because you might fail. Fear tells you not to speak honestly because someone may disagree. Fear tells you to remain in unhealthy situations because the unknown feels even more frightening. The irony is that fear often creates the very life it wants to prevent. By avoiding challenges, we lose confidence. By avoiding difficult conversations, relationships weaken. By avoiding change, we remain stuck exactly where we are. Courage doesn't mean living without fear. It means refusing to let fear become your decision maker. One of the most powerful ways to quiet the storm within is through mindful breathing. Your breath is always with you. It asks for nothing. It costs nothing. Yet it has the remarkable ability to calm your nervous system. The next time your thoughts begin racing, pause for just a moment. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Hold it gently. Then breathe out even more slowly. Repeat this several times. As simple as it sounds, this practice sends a message to your body that you are safe. Your heartbeat slows, your muscles soften, your mind begins to settle. Peace rarely arrives all at once. It often enters one breath at a time. Presence is another powerful antidote to mental chaos. An anxious mind usually lives in one of two places, the past or the future. It regrets yesterday, or it worries about tomorrow. But serenity exists only in this moment. Notice the chair supporting you. Notice the rhythm of your breathing. Notice the sounds around you. Notice the warmth of sunlight on your skin or the coolness of the evening air. Life is always happening here, in the present. Yet we spend so much time mentally elsewhere that we miss it completely. There will always be uncertainty. No amount of worrying can eliminate every risk or predict every outcome, but worrying has never prevented tomorrow's problems. More often, it simply steals today's peace. That doesn't mean you stop planning or preparing. It means you learn the difference between thoughtful preparation and endless mental rehearsal. Preparation empowers you. Overthinking exhausts you. As you continue your journey towards serenity, remember that your mind is like a garden. Whatever you water will grow. If you constantly water fear, criticism, and worst-case scenarios, anxiety will flourish. But if you water gratitude, hope, compassion, and truth, peace will slowly take root. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. Some days the storm will return. Old habits of worry may revisit you. That's perfectly normal. The goal is not to create a mind that never experiences anxious thoughts. The goal is to become someone who no longer allows those thoughts to control the direction of your life. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you replace fear with curiosity, each time you choose one slow breath instead of one more worried thought, you strengthen your inner calm. Eventually, you'll discover something beautiful. The storms of life may never completely disappear. Unexpected challenges will still arrive. Difficult days will still come. Loss, disappointment, and uncertainty are part of being human. But when your mind learns to become an anchor instead of a wave, life's storms lose their power to carry you away. And that is the beginning of true serenity, not the absence of chaos, but the quiet confidence that no matter what happens around you, peace can still live within you. Chapter 4. Finding Balance in an Unbalanced World. Take a moment to imagine a tightrope walker standing high above the ground. Every step requires focus, patience, and adjustment. The goal is not to remain perfectly still, but to constantly respond to subtle shifts in weight. Balance is not the absence of movement, it is the ability to adapt without falling. Life works much the same way. Many people believe balance means dividing every hour equally between work, family, health, friends, hobbies, and rest. But life has never been that predictable. Some seasons demand more from your career. Others require more attention for your family, your health, or your personal growth. The mistake is believing that balance means perfection. It doesn't. Balance means learning to give your energy to what matters most without completely neglecting everything else. Unfortunately, modern life often encourages the opposite. We live in a culture that celebrates busyness. Being constantly occupied has somehow become a symbol of importance. When someone asks, "How have you been?" many people automatically answer, "Busy." It's spoken almost with pride. Yet beneath that single word often hides exhaustion, stress, and emotional emptiness. The problem isn't that we have responsibilities. Responsibilities give our lives meaning and purpose. The problem is that we rarely pause long enough to ask whether the way we're living is sustainable. Imagine trying to drive a car without ever stopping to refuel. At first, everything seems fine. The engine runs smoothly and the journey continues, but eventually the fuel runs out. The car doesn't stop because it lacks potential. It stops because it lacks energy. Human beings are no different. You cannot continue giving your time, your attention, your creativity, and your compassion to everyone else while ignoring your own need for rest. Eventually, something begins to break down. Sometimes it's your physical health. Sometimes it's your relationships. Sometimes it's your motivation. Sometimes it's your peace of mind. Burnout rarely happens overnight. It develops quietly through hundreds of small moments when we ignore our own needs, skipping meals because we're too busy, working late instead of resting, choosing productivity over sleep, answering one more email instead of spending time with loved ones, saying yes when every part of us wanted to say no. These small choices seem harmless in isolation. Together, they slowly create a life that feels out of balance. One of the greatest myths about balance is the belief that doing more automatically leads to a better life. In reality, more isn't always better. More possessions don't always create happiness. More commitments don't always create fulfillment. More achievements don't always create peace. Sometimes the answer isn't adding something new. Sometimes it's removing what no longer belongs. Think about a garden. If every seed is allowed to grow without care, the strongest flowers eventually become crowded by weeds. The garden doesn't suffer because it lacks growth. It suffers because nothing has been removed. Our lives work the same way. Every unnecessary commitment, unhealthy habit, toxic relationship, and unrealistic expectation competes for our limited time and emotional energy. To create balance, you must learn the art of intentional pruning. Ask yourself, what activities leave me energized? Which ones leave me completely drained? What relationships help me grow? Which habits quietly steal my peace? These questions are not selfish. They are necessary. Balance also requires recognizing that every area of life is connected. When you neglect your physical health, your mental clarity often declines. When your relationships suffer, your emotional resilience weakens. When your work becomes your entire identity, even small professional setbacks begin to feel like personal failures. No part of your life exists in isolation. Like the roots of a tree, everything is connected beneath the surface. This is why true balance isn't about managing time alone. It's about managing energy. You may have 24 hours in every day, just like everyone else. But your energy changes constantly. Some hours are ideal for focused work. Others are better suited for rest, creativity, exercise, or meaningful conversation. Learning to work with your natural energy instead of constantly fighting it creates remarkable changes. Equally important is learning to rest without guilt. Many people believe rest must be earned. I'll relax after this project. I'll slow down next month. I'll take care of myself once everything is finished. But life rarely becomes completely finished. There is always another responsibility waiting. If you postpone rest until every task is complete, you may spend your entire life exhausted. Rest is not laziness, it is maintenance. Just as musicians pause between notes to create beautiful music, life also needs moments of stillness. Without those pauses, everything becomes noise. Consider nature. The sun rises every morning and sets every evening. The seasons change throughout the year. Trees grow, release their leaves, rest through winter, and bloom again in spring. Nature never apologizes for its rhythms, yet human beings often try to live as though we can remain productive every hour of every day. We forget that rest is part of growth, not the opposite of it. Balance also means protecting the moments that truly matter. A conversation with your child, dinner with your family, a walk beneath the evening sky, reading a meaningful book, laughing with a close friend, watching the sunrise in complete silence. These moments rarely appear urgent. Yet, years later, they become the memories we treasure most. Few people reach the end of life wishing they had answered more emails or attended more meetings. Many wish they had been more present. Presence is one of the greatest expressions of balance. When you're working, truly work. When you're resting, truly rest. When you're with someone you love, give them your full attention instead of half your attention and half your phone. A divided mind rarely experiences peace. A focused mind often does. Remember, balance is not something you discover once and keep forever. It is a daily practice. Some days work will require more of you. Other days your family will. Sometimes your health will demand your attention. Sometimes your spirit will ask for quiet reflection. There is no perfect formula, only continual adjustment guided by wisdom. As you move forward, stop measuring success only by how much you accomplish. Also ask yourself, did I protect my peace today? Did I care for my body? Did I make time for people who matter? Did I leave room for joy? Did I remember that my worth is greater than my productivity? These questions lead to a richer life. A balanced life is not a life without responsibilities. It is a life where responsibility and well-being walk side by side. When you stop trying to do everything and begin focusing on what truly matters, something remarkable happens. The constant pressure begins to fade. Your relationships deepen. Your mind becomes clearer. Your heart grows lighter. And little by little, you discover that serenity is not found by perfectly controlling every part of life. It is found by living each day with intention, wisdom, and the quiet courage to choose what truly deserves your time, your energy, and your heart. Chapter 5. The Gentle Strength of Acceptance. When life doesn't go according to plan, our first instinct is often to resist. We argue with reality. We replay events in our minds and wish they had unfolded differently. We ask questions with no satisfying answers. Why did this happen to me? Why now? Why couldn't things have been different? These questions are deeply human. Every one of us has faced moments that seemed unfair, painful, or impossible to understand. The loss of a loved one, the end of a meaningful relationship, an unexpected failure, a dream that never came true, these experiences leave marks on the heart. And when they do, our natural response is to fight against what has already happened. But there is a quiet truth that changes everything. Pain is often unavoidable. Suffering, however, is frequently prolonged by resistance. Acceptance is one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal growth. Many people hear the word and assume it means giving up. They imagine acceptance as weakness, surrender, or simply settling for less than they deserve. Nothing could be further from the truth. Acceptance is not saying, "I like what happened." It is saying, "I recognize that this is my reality, and I will choose my next step wisely." There is tremendous strength in that decision. Imagine standing in the middle of a river, fighting against a powerful current. Every ounce of energy is spent resisting the water. The harder you struggle, the more exhausted you become. Eventually, you realize that the river doesn't change because you argue with it. The current continues to flow exactly as it always has. Life often feels the same. Some realities cannot be changed. The past cannot be rewritten. Time cannot be reversed. Other people's decisions cannot be controlled. The weather, aging, unexpected setbacks, and countless circumstances remain outside our influence. Yet many people spend years fighting battles they were never meant to win. Acceptance doesn't ask you to stop caring. It asks you to stop wasting your energy fighting what already exists. That energy can then be used to build something better. One of the greatest sources of frustration is our desire for control. We want life to unfold according to our plans. We want people to behave the way we expect. We want certainty about the future. When reality refuses to cooperate, anxiety quickly follows. The truth is simple but difficult to embrace. Control is far more limited than we imagine. You cannot control what others think about you. You cannot control unexpected events. You cannot control every outcome, no matter how carefully you prepare. But you can always control your response, and that is where your true power lives. Consider a sailor crossing the ocean. The sailor cannot command the wind to blow in a certain direction. Complaining about the weather will not calm the sea. But the sailor can adjust the sails, change the course, and continue moving forward. Life rewards those who learn to adjust rather than those who endlessly resist. Acceptance is the art of adjusting without losing hope. This lesson becomes especially important when life doesn't match the picture we once imagined. Perhaps you believed your career would be further along by now. Perhaps you expected a relationship to last forever. Perhaps you imagined a future that looked very different from the one you have today. When reality clashes with expectation, disappointment naturally follows. But disappointment becomes lasting bitterness only when we refuse to let go of the life we thought we should have had. Sometimes the future you never planned becomes the one that teaches you the greatest lessons. Many successful people speak about moments they once viewed as devastating failures. A rejected application led them toward a more meaningful career. The end of one relationship prepared them for a healthier one. A painful setback forced them to discover strengths they never knew they possessed. At the time, none of those experiences felt like blessings. They simply felt painful. Acceptance didn't erase the pain. It gave them the courage to move through it. Acceptance also transforms the way we see ourselves. Many people carry guilt for mistakes made years ago. They define themselves by a single failure, a poor decision, or words they wish they could take back. But you are more than your worst moment. Making a mistake does not make you a mistake. Every human being is imperfect. Every person has regrets. Every life contains chapters that we would gladly rewrite if given the chance. Growth begins when you stop allowing yesterday to define today's identity. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What did this experience teach me?" That single question shifts your focus from shame to wisdom. Acceptance is also deeply connected to compassion. When you accept your own imperfections, you naturally become more patient with the imperfections of others. You begin to understand that everyone is carrying struggles you cannot see. The impatient cashier may be caring for a sick parent. The angry driver may have received heartbreaking news. The friend who seems distant may be fighting a silent battle with anxiety or grief. Acceptance reminds us that every person is human, and humanity deserves compassion. Of course, acceptance does not mean allowing harmful behavior or remaining in unhealthy situations. Accepting reality doesn't prevent you from setting boundaries, seeking justice, or making necessary changes. In fact, acceptance often gives you the clarity to make those decisions with wisdom instead of anger. It replaces emotional reaction with thoughtful action. There is a peaceful freedom that comes when you stop demanding that life be perfect before allowing yourself to be happy. You begin appreciating what is still good, even while facing difficulty. You notice small moments of beauty that once escaped your attention. A quiet sunrise, a sincere smile, the comfort of a loved one's voice, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Life has always contained both joy and sorrow. Acceptance allows you to embrace the whole experience instead of clinging only to one part. Think of a mighty oak tree standing through every season. It does not resist autumn when its leaves begin to fall. It does not fear winter's cold. It trusts that spring will come in its own time. Its strength comes not from resisting change, but from remaining deeply rooted while everything around it changes. Your inner peace grows the same way. Not by controlling every circumstance, not by avoiding every hardship, but by becoming deeply rooted in values that cannot be shaken: wisdom, compassion, gratitude, courage, and hope. Remember that acceptance is not the end of growth. It is the beginning of freedom. The moment you stop fighting reality, your hands become free to build a better future, your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes calmer, and your spirit begins to understand a profound truth. Serenity does not come from having complete control over life. It comes from trusting yourself to face whatever life brings with grace, courage, and an open heart. That is the gentle strength of acceptance, and it may be one of the greatest strengths you will ever possess. Chapter 6. Living with Purpose Instead of Pressure. Imagine two people leaving for work on the same Monday morning. They wake up at the same time, sit in the same traffic, and spend nearly the same number of hours at their jobs. Yet when the day ends, one returns home feeling exhausted, empty, and trapped, while the other feels tired but fulfilled. The difference isn't necessarily the salary they earn or the title on their business card. The difference is purpose. One is driven by pressure, the other is guided by meaning. Many of us spend years chasing success without ever asking ourselves what success truly means. We inherit definitions from society, from family, from social media, and from the expectations of people around us. We are told that success is measured by promotions, wealth, recognition, expensive homes, or impressive achievements. While there is nothing wrong with pursuing these things, problems arise when they become the only reason we keep moving forward. A life built entirely on external rewards often feels surprisingly empty once those rewards are finally achieved. Pressure is a powerful motivator, but it is also a dangerous master. It whispers that you must always do more, earn more, achieve more, and become more. It convinces you that rest is laziness and that your worth depends entirely on your productivity. Under constant pressure, every accomplishment quickly loses its joy because another goal immediately takes its place. You climb one mountain only to discover another, even taller one waiting ahead. There is never enough time to appreciate how far you have already come because your eyes are always fixed on what remains unfinished. Purpose speaks differently. Purpose doesn't ask, how can I impress more people? It asks, how can I make my life meaningful? Purpose doesn't demand perfection. It invites contribution. Purpose reminds you that your life is valuable not because of what you own, but because of who you become and how you influence the lives of others. Think about a compass. A compass doesn't tell you how fast to travel. It simply points you in the right direction. Purpose works the same way. It doesn't guarantee an easy journey, but it ensures that your energy is invested in something that truly matters. Without purpose, life often feels like sailing across an endless ocean without a destination. You may remain busy every day, yet quietly wonder why fulfillment always seems just beyond your reach. Many people confuse purpose with a single career or profession. They believe they must discover one extraordinary mission before their life can have meaning. In reality, purpose is often much simpler than that. It can be found in raising a loving family, helping people through your work, creating art, teaching others, serving your community, learning continuously, or simply becoming a source of kindness wherever you go. Purpose is less about what you do and more about why you do it. Consider two professionals working in different fields. One earns an impressive income but wakes every morning feeling disconnected from the work they do. They spend each day counting the hours until they can go home. The other earns less money but believes deeply in the value of helping others. They still face difficult days, deadlines and challenges, but beneath the stress lies a quiet sense of meaning that carries them forward. Both experience pressure, but only one is sustained by purpose. This doesn't mean everyone should immediately change careers. Sometimes the change that is needed isn't external, but internal. Even ordinary work becomes meaningful when it supports values that matter deeply to you. A teacher isn't simply delivering lessons, they are shaping future generations. A nurse isn't merely completing tasks, they are offering comfort during someone's most vulnerable moments. A parent isn't simply preparing meals or driving children to school. They are building a foundation of love and security that may last for decades. Purpose transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary contributions. One of the greatest obstacles to purposeful living is comparison. We constantly compare our journey with someone else's highlight reel. We see their achievements, their lifestyle, and their success while overlooking the years of effort, sacrifice, and uncertainty hidden beneath the surface. Comparison quietly steals contentment because it teaches us to measure our progress using someone else's path. But your purpose was never meant to look exactly like anyone else's. A rose doesn't compete with an oak tree. The moon doesn't compete with the sun. Each fulfills its own role beautifully. In the same way, your value doesn't come from becoming someone else. It comes from becoming fully yourself. Living with purpose also requires learning to say no. Every yes is a commitment of your time, energy, and attention. If you say yes to everything, you eventually lose the ability to give your best to what matters most. Purpose gives you permission to decline opportunities that don't align with your values, even if they appear attractive on the surface. This requires courage because the world often rewards busyness more than intentionality. People may not understand why you choose simplicity over status, peace over popularity, or meaning over endless ambition. But serenity is never found by living according to someone else's expectations. It grows when your daily choices reflect your deepest values. Ask yourself a few honest questions. What kind of person do you hope people remember? What values would you refuse to compromise, regardless of success or failure? If money, recognition, and fear disappeared tomorrow, how would you choose to spend your life? The answers to these questions point toward purpose. Purpose is also discovered through service. Some of the happiest people are not those who focus exclusively on themselves, but those who regularly improve someone else's life. A kind word, a listening ear, a generous act, or a moment of encouragement may seem small. Yet these simple actions often create ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. When your life becomes larger than your own ambitions, fulfillment naturally follows. Living with purpose does not eliminate hardship. You will still experience setbacks, disappointment, uncertainty, and loss. The difference is that purpose gives suffering direction. Challenges become opportunities for growth instead of reasons to quit. Obstacles become teachers instead of enemies. Difficult seasons no longer feel meaningless because they contribute to the person you are becoming. Every morning presents a quiet choice. You can wake up driven by pressure, constantly chasing approval and fearing failure. Or you can wake up guided by purpose, knowing that your value is rooted not in perfection, but in intention. One path leads to constant exhaustion. The other leads to lasting fulfillment. As you continue this journey toward serenity, remember that a meaningful life is rarely the loudest life. It is not defined by endless applause, impressive titles, or crowded calendars. It is defined by waking each day with clarity, living according to your values, serving others with compassion, and ending the day knowing that your actions reflected the person you truly want to become. When purpose becomes your compass, instead of pressure becoming your master, something remarkable begins to happen. Your decisions become clearer, your priorities become simpler, your heart becomes lighter. And little by little, you discover that serenity is not found in achieving everything the world expects of you. It is found in becoming everything your heart was created to be. Chapter 7. The Healing Power of Gratitude and Presence. Have you ever reached the end of a day and realized you could barely remember living it? You remember answering emails, finishing tasks, driving from one place to another, and checking your phone countless times. But when you try to recall a meaningful moment, everything feels like a blur. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and before long, another year has quietly passed. This is how many people live, not because they choose to, but because they are constantly rushing toward tomorrow while missing today. The modern world trains us to focus on what comes next. We think about the next meeting, the next goal, the next vacation, the next promotion, or the next chapter of life. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I earn more, when I buy a house, when I lose weight, when life becomes easier, when everything finally falls into place. But there is one problem with that way of thinking. Tomorrow always becomes another tomorrow. Happiness that depends entirely on the future is a happiness that is always postponed. Serenity begins when we stop chasing life and start experiencing it. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is the ability to be fully present. Presence means giving your complete attention to the moment you are living instead of constantly wishing for another one. It means listening without planning your next response. It means eating without scrolling through your phone. It means watching a sunset without thinking about your unfinished to-do list. These moments may seem ordinary, but ordinary moments, fully experienced, become extraordinary memories. Think about some of your happiest memories. They were probably not created because everything in life was perfect. More likely, they came from simple experiences. A family dinner filled with laughter, a conversation with a close friend, walking beside the ocean, holding someone's hand, or watching rain fall outside your window while drinking a warm cup of tea. None of those moments required extraordinary success. They required your presence. Unfortunately, our minds rarely stay in the present. They wander backward into regret or forward into worry. We replay old conversations. We imagine future problems. We mentally travel everywhere, except the only place where life is actually happening, the present moment. This is why mindfulness has become such a powerful practice. Mindfulness is not about emptying your mind or escaping reality. It is about paying attention to what is happening right now without judging it. Notice your breathing. Notice the feeling of your feet touching the ground. Notice the sound of birds outside your window. Notice the smile of someone you love. Life is constantly offering these quiet invitations, yet we often miss them because our attention is somewhere else. Gratitude strengthens this awareness even further. The human brain naturally notices problems more quickly than blessings. This tendency once helped our ancestors survive by identifying danger. Today, however, that same instinct often causes us to overlook the countless good things already present in our lives. We remember criticism longer than compliments. We notice what we lack more than what we already have. We focus on one disappointment while forgetting 10 beautiful moments. Without realizing it, we train our minds to search for what's wrong instead of appreciating what's right. Gratitude gently reverses this habit. Gratitude doesn't deny life's difficulties. It simply refuses to let difficulties become the whole story. Imagine waking up every morning with the ability to see your life through completely new eyes. Instead of immediately thinking about problems waiting for you, you begin by noticing simple blessings. The air filling your lungs, the roof over your head, the people who care about you, the opportunity to begin another day. At first, these thoughts may seem too small to matter, but over time they quietly reshape your perspective. What you repeatedly focus on becomes the world you experience. If you constantly focus on scarcity, your life will always feel incomplete. If you consistently notice abundance, your heart naturally becomes more peaceful. Consider two neighbors living on the same street. Both have similar jobs, similar homes, and similar responsibilities. One spends every day complaining about traffic, weather, rising costs, and life's inconveniences. The other notices blooming flowers during morning walks, enjoys conversations with neighbors, appreciates family dinners, and ends each evening reflecting on 3 good things that happened that day. Their circumstances are remarkably similar. Their experience of life is completely different. The difference is perspective. Gratitude is not something that happens to you. It is something you practice. Like strengthening a muscle, gratitude grows stronger every time you intentionally use it. Some people keep a gratitude journal, writing down 3 blessings each evening. Others pause before meals to quietly appreciate the food before them. Some simply end the day by asking, "What made me smile today?" These simple habits may appear insignificant, yet they slowly transform the way your mind interprets the world. Presence and gratitude also deepen our relationships. How often have you been physically present while mentally somewhere else? Someone is speaking to you, but your attention is divided between your phone, tomorrow's responsibilities, and unfinished thoughts. Although your body remains in the conversation, your heart has already wandered away. True presence is one of the greatest gifts you can offer another person. Listening carefully, looking into someone's eyes, giving your full attention without interruption. These small acts communicate something powerful. You matter. In a world filled with distractions, genuine attention has become a rare form of love. Gratitude also changes the way we respond to challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we begin asking, "What can this experience teach me?" Instead of focusing only on what was lost, we notice what still remains. This shift does not remove pain. It creates hope alongside it. Even during difficult seasons, gratitude reminds us that darkness never completely erases light. A single candle can illuminate an entire room. One act of kindness can restore someone's faith. One encouraging conversation can change the direction of a difficult day. Life is often transformed through small moments we almost overlook. Remember that peace is not hidden in some distant future waiting for you to arrive. It exists in this breath, this conversation, this sunrise, this quiet evening, this opportunity to begin again. Every day offers countless reasons to be grateful, but they reveal themselves only to those who are willing to slow down enough to notice. The more fully you live in the present, the less power regret has over your past, and the less influence worry has over your future. And as gratitude becomes your daily companion, you'll discover something remarkable. The life you've been searching for may not be waiting somewhere ahead. It may already be here, quietly unfolding in the beautiful moments you once rushed past. Serenity begins the moment you finally pause long enough to see them. Chapter 8. Building Relationships That Bring Peace. No one was meant to walk through life alone. Long before we learn to speak, achieve, or dream, we learn to connect. We reach for a parent's hand, smile at a familiar face, and seek comfort in the presence of others. Human connection is not simply something we enjoy, it is something we need. Yet while relationships have the power to bring incredible joy, they also have the power to steal our peace when they are built on unhealthy foundations. Think about the people who have influenced your life the most. Chances are You remember them not because of what they owned or what they accomplished, but because of how they made you feel. Some people leave you feeling encouraged, understood, and accepted. Others leave you feeling anxious, criticized, or emotionally drained. Over time, the people you spend the most time with quietly shape the person you become. This is why building peaceful relationships is not a luxury. It is an essential part of living a life of serenity. Healthy relationships begin with one simple principle: respect. Respect is more than good manners or polite conversation. It is the ability to recognize another person's value, even when you disagree with them. It means listening without interrupting, speaking without humiliating, and disagreeing without destroying dignity. Respect creates emotional safety, and emotional safety allows trust to grow. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. It cannot be demanded, bought, or rushed. It is built through countless small actions repeated over time. Keeping your promises, being honest when the truth is uncomfortable, showing up when someone needs you, offering support without expecting something in return. These quiet acts of consistency create relationships that remain strong even during life's most difficult seasons. One of the greatest gifts you can offer another person is genuine listening. Most people listen only long enough to prepare their next response. While someone else is speaking, they are already planning advice, defending themselves, or waiting for their turn to talk. But true listening is different. It means giving someone your full attention without trying to fix them immediately. Sometimes people do not need solutions as much as they need to feel heard. Imagine a friend who has had a difficult day. They begin sharing their frustrations, but before they finish, you interrupt with advice. Your intentions are good, yet they leave feeling misunderstood. Now imagine simply listening. You maintain eye contact, allow moments of silence, and let them express their emotions without judgment. At the end of the conversation, they feel lighter, not because you solved their problems, but because they no longer had to carry them alone. Presence often heals more deeply than perfect words. Compassion is another pillar of peaceful relationships. Every person you meet is carrying battles you cannot see. The cashier who seems impatient may have spent the night caring for a sick child. The co-worker who appears distant may be grieving a personal loss. The family member who reacts with anger may actually be struggling with fear or insecurity. When you remember that everyone has an invisible story, your heart naturally becomes more patient. Compassion does not excuse harmful behavior, but it helps you respond with understanding instead of immediate judgment. At the same time, peaceful relationships require honesty. Some people avoid difficult conversations because they fear conflict. They remain silent about hurt feelings, unmet expectations, or important needs. Over time, those unspoken emotions quietly grow into resentment. Honesty delivered with kindness prevents resentment from taking root. There is a difference between speaking to win an argument and speaking to strengthen a relationship. The first seeks victory. The second seeks understanding. Before difficult conversations, ask yourself a simple question. Am I trying to prove that I'm right, or am I trying to improve this relationship? That question alone can completely change the tone of a conversation. Not every relationship, however, is meant to last forever. This can be one of life's most painful lessons. Some relationships encourage your growth, while others quietly diminish your peace. Some people celebrate your success, while others become uncomfortable whenever you begin changing for the better. Some relationships are built on mutual respect, while others survive only through guilt, manipulation, or constant emotional exhaustion. Imagine two friendships. In one, every conversation leaves you feeling criticized, anxious, or emotionally drained. You constantly feel the need to explain yourself, defend your choices, or seek approval. In the other friendship, you feel accepted even when you make mistakes. Your successes are celebrated, your struggles are met with compassion, and both of you encourage each other to become better people. Both relationships occupy time in your life, but only one brings peace. The difference is not how long you've known someone. The difference is how they shape your heart. Learning to recognize unhealthy relationships is an act of wisdom, not selfishness. This does not mean expecting perfection from others. Every relationship experiences misunderstandings. Every family faces disagreements. Every friendship goes through difficult seasons. The goal is not to surround yourself only with people who never disappoint you. Such people do not exist. The goal is to build relationships where respect, forgiveness, honesty, and mutual growth remain stronger than occasional conflict. Equally important is becoming the kind of person who brings peace into other people's lives. Ask yourself, do people feel safe sharing their thoughts with me? Do I criticize more than I encourage? Do I truly celebrate the success of others? Do I make people feel valued when they are with me? The quality of your relationships often reflects the quality of your own character. If you want loyal friends, become loyal. If you desire kindness, practice kindness. If you hope to receive understanding, begin by offering understanding first. Relationships are like gardens. They cannot survive on good intentions alone. They require consistent attention. Small acts of appreciation, honest conversations, forgiveness, shared laughter, and simple moments of presence become the water and sunlight that keep love alive. Ignore them for too long, and even the strongest relationships begin to fade. As you continue your journey towards serenity, remember that peace is rarely found in isolation. It grows through healthy connections built on trust, compassion, and authenticity. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your worth instead of making you question it. Choose relationships that inspire growth instead of fear, honesty instead of pretense, and encouragement instead of constant criticism. Most importantly, become a source of peace yourself. Because when your words bring comfort, your actions inspire trust, and your presence helps others feel seen and valued, you create something far greater than successful relationships. You create a life where serenity is shared, and peace shared with others always finds its way back to your own heart. Chapter 9. The courage to protect your inner peace. There comes a point in every person's life when they realize an important truth. Not every battle deserves to be fought. Not every opinion deserves a response. And not every person deserves unlimited access to their time, energy, and emotions. This realization is not a sign of becoming cold or distant. It is a sign of becoming wise. Many of us spend years believing that being a good person means saying yes to everyone. We try to avoid disappointing people. We take on responsibilities that were never ours to carry. We agree to invitations we don't want to attend, accept work we don't have the energy to complete, and tolerate behaviors that quietly damage our emotional well-being. We convince ourselves that kindness means endless sacrifice. But kindness without boundaries eventually becomes self-neglect. Imagine your emotional energy as water stored inside a well. Every conversation, every responsibility, every challenge, and every relationship draws water from that well. If you continue giving without ever allowing the well to refill, it eventually runs dry. Once that happens, you no longer have the patience, compassion, or strength to care for others, or even yourself. Protecting your inner peace means protecting the well before it becomes empty. One of the greatest threats to inner peace is the desire for constant approval. From childhood, many of us learn to seek acceptance. We want teachers to praise us, friends to include us, family members to approve of us, and later in life, co-workers, managers, and even strangers to admire us. While appreciation feels good, making it the foundation of your self-worth creates a dangerous cycle. If your happiness depends on everyone liking you, your peace will always remain in someone else's hands. The truth is both simple and liberating. No matter how kind you are, someone will misunderstand you. No matter how generous you are, someone will criticize you. No matter how hard you work, someone will think you could have done more. Trying to satisfy every person is like trying to hold water in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Freedom begins the moment you stop asking, "Will everyone approve?" and start asking, "Is this aligned with my values?" That single shift changes the way you make decisions. It becomes easier to choose honesty over popularity, integrity over applause, peace over people-pleasing. One of the most powerful words you will ever learn is the word no. For many people, saying no feels uncomfortable. It brings guilt, anxiety, or fear of disappointing others. Yet every time you say yes to something that conflicts with your values or drains your well-being, you are often saying no to something more important. Every unnecessary commitment steals time from your family. Every obligation accepted out of guilt steals energy from your health. Every boundary ignored quietly weakens your peace. Saying no is not an act of rejection, it is an act of protection. Imagine an employee who always agrees to stay late. Whenever extra work appears, they volunteer because they don't want anyone to think they are lazy or uncooperative. At first, everyone praises their dedication. Months later, they become exhausted. They lose sleep, grow impatient with loved ones, and begin dreading work each morning. Eventually, their health begins to suffer. One day, they respectfully explain that they can no longer accept additional work beyond their responsibilities. To their surprise, the world doesn't collapse. Some people are disappointed, but many begin respecting their honesty. Most importantly, they regain something they had slowly lost, their peace. Healthy boundaries rarely push good people away. They simply reveal who truly respects you. Boundaries are not walls built to keep people out. They are doors that allow healthy relationships to flourish while preventing harmful behavior from entering your life. Some people misunderstand boundaries because they have benefited from your lack of them. When you begin protecting your time, they may accuse you of changing. They're right. You are changing. You are choosing peace over constant pressure. Another threat to serenity is unnecessary conflict. In today's world, it often feels as though everyone is eager to argue. Social media encourages instant reactions. Conversations become competitions. Small disagreements quickly become personal attacks. Many people feel obligated to respond to every criticism or defend themselves against every misunderstanding. But wisdom asks a different question. Is this argument worth my peace? Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every accusation deserves a response. Sometimes silence communicates more strength than endless explanation. Think about a mountain standing through every season. It does not argue with the wind. It does not chase every passing storm. It simply remains grounded while the weather changes around it. Inner peace grows stronger when you become like that mountain, steady, patient, unmoved by every passing opinion. This doesn't mean avoiding every difficult conversation. Some conversations are necessary. Relationships require honesty, workplaces require communication, and justice often requires speaking with courage. The difference lies in your motivation. Speak to solve, not to win. Speak to understand, not to dominate. Speak because your values require it, not because your emotions demand immediate release. Protecting your inner peace also means carefully choosing what you allow into your mind. Imagine leaving your front door wide open every hour of every day. Anyone could walk inside. Some visitors would be kind, while others would create chaos. Most people would never leave their homes unprotected, yet many leave their minds completely unguarded. They consume endless negative news. They compare themselves to unrealistic images online. They surround themselves with constant criticism, gossip, and outrage. Then they wonder why they feel anxious and overwhelmed. Your mind deserves the same protection as your home. Choose what you read. Choose what you watch. Choose who influences your thinking. Every thought you repeatedly allow inside becomes part of the emotional environment you live in. protect your environment, and you protect your peace. Another important part of protecting serenity is learning to forgive yourself when you fall short. There will be days when you react emotionally, days when you say yes instead of no, days when old habits return. That doesn't erase your progress. Growth is not measured by perfection. It is measured by your willingness to return to your values again and again. Every peaceful life is built through repeated choices, not flawless behavior. As your confidence grows, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop explaining yourself to everyone. You stop chasing validation. You stop trying to fix every person's opinion of you. Instead, you quietly focus on becoming someone whose actions speak louder than unnecessary words. There is tremendous freedom in realizing that your responsibility is not to manage everyone else's expectations. Your responsibility is to live with integrity, to protect your energy, to care for your heart, to love others without losing yourself. Remember that inner peace is one of the most valuable treasures you will ever possess. Guard it wisely. Protect it with healthy boundaries, thoughtful choices, honest relationships, and unwavering self-respect. The world will always offer reasons to become distracted, offended, overwhelmed, or exhausted. You cannot control every circumstance. You cannot control every person. But you can choose what you welcome into your heart. You can choose which voices deserve your attention. You can choose where your energy is invested. And each time you make those choices with courage, instead of guilt, you strengthen something no one can take away from you. A calm mind, a resilient spirit, a peaceful heart. Because serenity is not only something you discover, it is something you protect every single day with the quiet courage to honor yourself as deeply as you honor others. Chapter 10. Daily Habits that Create a Serene Life. A peaceful life is not built in a single extraordinary moment. It is built in ordinary moments that are repeated every single day. Many people believe serenity arrives after a major life change, a better job, a bigger home, a perfect relationship, or the absence of problems. But true peace rarely appears because life suddenly becomes easier. It grows because our daily habits quietly shape the way we think, feel, and respond to the world around us. Imagine two people beginning their mornings. The first wakes up and immediately reaches for their phone. Within minutes, they are scrolling through social media, reading stressful news headlines, checking work emails, and comparing their life with carefully edited images of others. Before they have even left their bed, their mind is already overwhelmed. The second person wakes up differently. They sit quietly for a few moments, take several slow breaths, express gratitude for a new day, drink a glass of water, and spend 10 peaceful minutes reading something inspiring or simply enjoying the silence. They begin their day with intention instead of reaction. Both people have the same 24 hours ahead of them, yet the direction of their day has already begun to unfold in completely different ways. This is the quiet power of daily habits. Our lives are shaped less by the occasional big decision and more by the small choices we barely notice. A single healthy meal will not transform your body, just as one workout will not make you strong. In the same way, one peaceful morning will not immediately change your life. But when those choices are repeated day after day, they gradually become the foundation of who you are. Every habit is like placing one brick. One brick seems insignificant. But thousands of bricks carefully placed over time become a strong and beautiful home. Your habits are building the home your mind will live in. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is creating a peaceful morning routine. The first moments after waking often set the emotional tone for the entire day. If your morning begins with urgency, distraction, and stress, your mind remains in that state for hours. But if your morning begins with calmness and clarity, you carry that peace into your conversations, your work, and your decisions. You don't need an elaborate routine. Sometimes 5 or 10 quiet minutes are enough. Stretch your body. take a few deep breaths. Offer a short prayer or meditation. Read a page from an inspiring book. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. These simple actions remind your mind that you are beginning the day intentionally instead of allowing the day to control you. Equally important is learning to care for your body. The mind and body are not separate. They constantly influence one another. Poor sleep makes it harder to manage emotions. Constant stress affects physical health. Lack of movement reduces both energy and mental clarity. Taking care of your body is not vanity. It is an act of respect. Walk whenever possible. Drink enough water. Eat foods that nourish rather than simply satisfy cravings. Rest when your body asks for recovery. Every healthy choice quietly strengthens both your physical well-being and your emotional resilience. Another habit that creates serenity is protecting moments of silence. The modern world rarely stops talking. Notifications, advertisements, conversations, music, podcasts, videos, and endless information compete for your attention from the moment you wake until you fall asleep. Without silence, your mind never has an opportunity to settle. Silence is where reflection happens. It is where creativity grows. It is where gratitude deepens. You do not need to escape to a mountain or a forest to experience this gift. Simply sitting quietly for 10 minutes without distractions can restore a surprising amount of mental clarity. Many people fear silence because they worry about the thoughts that may surface. Yet avoiding silence only postpones healing. The quiet moments you resist may become the moments that restore you. Another powerful habit is choosing your thoughts with care. Every day your mind repeats thousands of internal conversations. Some encourage you, others criticize you endlessly. Pay attention to the voice inside your head. If you constantly tell yourself that you are not good enough, not successful enough, or not worthy enough, your mind gradually begins to believe those stories. Replace criticism with compassion. Instead of saying, "I always fail," try saying, "I'm still learning." Instead of saying, "I'm not enough," remind yourself, "I'm growing every day." The words you speak to yourself become the emotional environment you live in. Relationships also require daily habits. A peaceful relationship is rarely created through grand romantic gestures or expensive gifts. It grows through small acts, repeated consistently, listening carefully, expressing appreciation, offering encouragement, sharing laughter, saying thank you, saying I'm sorry. Putting away your phone during conversations. These simple habits strengthen trust far more than occasional dramatic displays of affection. One habit that is often overlooked is ending the day with reflection instead of regret. Before sleeping, pause for a few quiet moments. Ask yourself, what went well today? What did I learn? How did I show kindness? What can I improve tomorrow? This practice gently shifts your attention away from perfection and toward growth. Every day becomes a teacher instead of a test. Another important habit is learning to slow down. Not every task requires rushing. Not every conversation needs to happen quickly. Drink your coffee slowly. Take a walk without checking your phone. Watch the sunset without feeling guilty. Life is not merely a list of things to complete. It is something to experience. The more slowly you move through meaningful moments, the richer those moments become. Remember that consistency is more important than intensity. Many people try to change their entire life overnight. They create impossible routines that last only a few days before returning to old habits. Real transformation works differently. One peaceful morning, one healthy meal, one evening walk, one act of gratitude, one honest conversation. Repeated consistently over weeks, months, and years, these simple habits quietly reshape your character. Eventually, they no longer feel like habits. They become your lifestyle. As you continue your journey towards serenity, remind yourself that peace is not something you earn after completing every responsibility. It is something you practice while living your life. Every sunrise offers another opportunity to begin again. Every breath offers another chance to slow down. Every choice offers another opportunity to move closer to the person you wish to become. A serene life is not created through extraordinary talent, perfect circumstances, or endless success. It is created through ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency, and one day, almost without noticing, you'll realize that the habits you once struggled to practice have quietly transformed the way you live. Your mornings become calmer, your thoughts become kinder, your relationships become deeper, your heart becomes lighter. And serenity is no longer something you search for. It has become the natural rhythm of your everyday life. Chapter 11. Becoming Unshaken by Life's Challenges. Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Just when everything seems to be going well, an unexpected phone call arrives. A carefully planned future suddenly changes. A relationship ends. A dream falls apart. A health problem appears without warning. In those moments, it is easy to believe that peace has disappeared forever. But true serenity is not measured by how calm you feel when everything is going your way. It is measured by how steady you remain when life does not. Many people spend their lives trying to avoid difficulty. They believe that if they could eliminate enough problems, they would finally become happy. Yet every life, no matter how successful or carefully planned, contains moments of uncertainty, disappointment, and loss. Challenges are not signs that something has gone wrong. They are part of being human. The question is not whether storms will come. The question is who you will become when they do. Imagine a tree standing in the middle of an open field. Every year it faces powerful winds, heavy rain, blazing heat, and bitter cold. Yet it continues to stand. Why? Because its greatest strength is not found in its branches, but in its roots. People are much the same. Your strength is not determined by what happens around you, it is determined by what has been built within you. Every chapter of this journey has quietly been helping you grow those roots. You have learned to let go of unnecessary burdens, calm the storms within your mind, create balance, accept what cannot be changed, live with purpose, practice gratitude, build healthy relationships, protect your peace, and establish daily habits that strengthen your spirit. These lessons become your roots. When life's storms arrive, they keep you grounded. One of the greatest differences between resilient people and those who remain overwhelmed is perspective. They do not deny reality or pretend that pain does not exist. Instead, they ask different questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What is this experience teaching me?" Instead of seeing every obstacle as proof that life is unfair, they begin to see challenges as opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. This change in perspective does not erase suffering. It gives suffering purpose. Think back to some of the hardest moments in your own life. At the time, they may have felt unbearable. Yet if you look carefully, you may also recognize the unexpected lessons they left behind. Perhaps failure taught you humility, loss taught you gratitude, rejection revealed a new direction, hardship uncovered strengths you never knew you possessed. Often we discover our greatest courage only after life asks us to use it. Resilience is not something people are born with. It is something they build. Every difficult conversation you face with honesty strengthens it. Every disappointment you survive strengthens it. Every setback you recover from strengthens it. Like a muscle, resilience grows every time it is challenged. This is why small daily acts of courage matter so much. Choosing hope instead of despair. Choosing patience instead of anger. Choosing forgiveness instead of bitterness. Choosing faith instead of fear. Each choice quietly prepares you for larger challenges in the future. Another important lesson is understanding the difference between reacting and responding. When unexpected problems arise, our emotions often demand immediate action. Fear tells us to panic. Anger tells us to fight. Discouragement tells us to give up. But wisdom asks us to pause. A calm response almost always creates better outcomes than an emotional reaction. Before speaking, breathe. Before deciding, reflect. Before assuming the worst, seek understanding. This simple habit creates space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. Within that space lies your freedom. Resilient people also understand that asking for help is not weakness. Many believe they must carry every burden alone. They hide their struggles because they fear appearing vulnerable. Yet some of the strongest people in the world are those who know when to lean on others, family, trusted friends, mentors, counselors, communities built on compassion. Healing often begins the moment we stop pretending that we have to face everything by ourselves. Remember that even mountains are shaped over time. Wind, rain, and changing seasons slowly carve their beauty. In the same way, your character is being shaped by every experience you encounter. Not every challenge is sent to defeat you. Some are preparing you for the person you are becoming. As you continue your journey, there will still be days when fear returns. There will be moments when life feels uncertain. There will be seasons when progress seems slow. Do not mistake these moments for failure. They are simply reminders that growth is an ongoing journey. The goal is not to become someone who never struggles. The goal is to become someone who no longer allows struggle to define them. One day, you will look back and realize that the storms you once feared became the very experiences that strengthened your spirit. The obstacles that seemed impossible became stepping stones. The tears that once felt endless became reminders of your resilience. That is the quiet miracle of serenity. It does not promise a life without storms. It gives you the strength to stand firmly when the winds begin to blow. And when your roots are planted deeply in wisdom, gratitude, purpose, compassion, and hope, no challenge can permanently shake who you are. You may bend, you may pause, you may even stumble, but you will rise again, stronger than before, wiser than before, calmer than before, because true serenity is not the absence of hardship. It is the quiet confidence that whatever tomorrow brings, you have already become the kind of person who can face it with courage, grace, and an unshaken heart. Chapter 12. A Life of Serenity, Your New Beginning. Take a moment to think about the person you were when you first began this journey. Perhaps you arrived carrying stress, uncertainty, or a quiet longing for something more. Maybe your days felt rushed, your thoughts felt scattered, and your heart felt heavier than you wanted to admit. Like so many people, you may have believed that peace was something waiting somewhere in the future, after achieving more, fixing every problem, or finally reaching the perfect stage of life. But now you know a different truth. Serenity is not a destination. It is a way of living. Throughout this audiobook, you have not been collecting ideas. You have been building a new foundation, like a house that becomes stronger one brick at a time. Your inner life has been strengthened by every lesson you've explored. You learned that change begins with awareness. The moment you honestly recognize that something in your life needs to change is not a moment of failure. It is the beginning of transformation. Awareness opens the door to growth because we cannot heal what we refuse to see. You learned to let go of emotional burdens that were never meant to define you. Regret, resentment, guilt, and unrealistic expectations may have shaped parts of your past, but they do not have to control your future. Every burden you release creates space for hope, joy, and freedom. You discovered that the loudest storms often exist within your own mind. By learning to observe your thoughts instead of becoming trapped by them, you found that peace is not the absence of thinking. It is the ability to choose which thoughts deserve your attention. You learned that balance is not about making every part of life equal. It is about giving your time, energy, and love to what matters most while leaving room for rest, relationships, and personal growth. A balanced life is not perfect, but it is intentional. You embrace the gentle strength of acceptance. You discovered that some things cannot be changed, but your response to them always remains within your control. Acceptance did not make you weaker, it made you wiser, calmer, and more resilient. You found the difference between living with pressure and living with purpose. Pressure constantly demands more. Purpose quietly reminds you why your life matters. It shifts your focus from impressing others to becoming someone whose actions reflect compassion, integrity, and meaning. You practiced gratitude and presence, discovering that life is not hidden somewhere in the future. It is unfolding in this very moment. Every sunrise, every conversation, every act of kindness, and every quiet breath became an invitation to experience life more deeply. You explored the beauty of peaceful relationships. You learned that trust is built through consistency, compassion grows through understanding, and genuine connection requires honesty, respect, and presence. You also realized that protecting your peace sometimes means letting go of relationships that no longer encourage your growth. You discovered the courage to protect your inner peace. You learned that saying no is not selfish when it allows you to say yes to what truly matters. Healthy boundaries became expressions of self-respect rather than rejection. You stopped trying to earn everyone's approval and began living according to your deepest values. You built daily habits that quietly transformed your life. Morning reflection, gratitude, mindful breathing, healthy routines, meaningful conversations, and intentional choices became the small actions that slowly reshaped your character. You discovered that extraordinary lives are built through ordinary habits practiced consistently. Finally, you learned that life's storms will always come, but they no longer have the power to define you. Every challenge became an opportunity to strengthen your roots. Every setback became another lesson in courage. Every difficult season reminded you that resilience grows through experience, not comfort. Now the journey reaches an important turning point. This is not the end. It is your beginning. Knowledge alone changes very little. Transformation happens when wisdom becomes action. You do not need to apply every lesson perfectly tomorrow. In fact, trying to change everything at once often creates the very pressure you have worked so hard to leave behind. Instead, begin simply. Choose one habit, one new perspective, one healthier boundary, one act of gratitude, one meaningful conversation, one quiet moment each morning. Small changes, repeated consistently, become extraordinary transformations over time. There will still be difficult days. Some mornings you will feel discouraged. Old habits may return. Your mind may wander back into worry. You may occasionally forget everything you have learned. That does not mean you have failed. It means you are human. When those moments come, do not criticize yourself. Simply return to your breath, return to gratitude, return to purpose, return to compassion, return to the present moment. Every return strengthens the person you are becoming. Remember that serenity is not measured by how rarely you lose your peace. It is measured by how gently and intentionally you find your way back to it. As you move forward, become the kind of person whose presence brings calm into every room. Let your patience comfort those who are anxious. Let your kindness soften someone else's difficult day. Let your wisdom encourage those who feel lost. Let your gratitude remind others of life's simple blessings. Peace is one of the few gifts that grows when it is shared. When you become a peaceful person, your family benefits. Your friendships become stronger. Your workplace becomes kinder. Your community becomes brighter. The quiet transformation within one heart often creates hope in countless others. So walk into tomorrow with confidence, not because you know exactly what the future holds, but because you know who you are becoming. You are becoming someone who values balance over busyness, purpose over pressure, gratitude over complaint, compassion over judgment, courage over fear, and peace over unnecessary chaos. One day, Perhaps years from now, someone may ask you the secret behind your calm spirit. They may wonder how you remain steady when life becomes difficult, or how you continue smiling even through uncertainty. The answer will not be found in one extraordinary event. It will be found in thousands of small choices. The choice to slow down, the choice to forgive, the choice to be present, the choice to protect your peace, the choice to live with purpose, the choice to love deeply, the choice to begin again whenever necessary. Those choices, repeated day after day, become a life of serenity. And that life is no longer waiting for you in some distant future. It begins today. It begins with this breath. It begins with your very next choice. As we reach the end of this audiobook, remember that this is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new way of living. The pages may have ended, but the lessons now become part of your everyday life. You have discovered that serenity is not found in a perfect world. It is found in the choices you make every day. It lives in your willingness to let go of what no longer serves you, to embrace what you cannot control, to protect your peace, and to find purpose in even the smallest moments. There will still be difficult days. Life will continue to surprise you with unexpected challenges, disappointments, and uncertainty. But now you carry something far more valuable than the hope that life will become easier. You carry the confidence that you can meet whatever comes with a calm mind, a resilient heart, and an unshaken spirit. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, return to the simple truths you've learned. Take a deep breath, slow down, practice gratitude, choose kindness, set healthy boundaries, remember your purpose. These small acts, repeated consistently, will guide you back to peace again and again. Most importantly, be patient with yourself. Growth is not a straight path, and serenity is not a destination you reach once. It is a lifelong practice of returning to what truly matters. Thank you for allowing this audiobook to be part of your journey. May your days be filled with balance instead of busyness, purpose instead of pressure, and peace instead of unnecessary worry. The world may continue to rush around you, but you no longer have to rush with it. A life of serenity begins every morning, and from this moment forward, that life is yours to create.